I've seen that some MRAs place big emphasis on anti-feminism and have an idea that gynocentrism is strictly cultural with no roots in nature, with which I personally disagree, so I decided to make a video addressing these topics. Feminism is hugely overrated and takes credit for changes caused by industrialization and technological advancement in a society. The bigger issues that need addressing are gynocentrism and right-wingers/tradcons. Right-wingers are ideologues who place their ideology based on passivity and conspiracy theories scapegoating over men's rights. They are bandwagonists that like to infiltrate and cannibalize other movements and groups like MRM and MGTOW. These men are chauvinists who bitch about women abandoning their traditional roles, hate any proactive male collectivism, hate other men as weak beta cucks and weak, effeminate soy boys, while they dream about societal collapse and rebuilding a so-called patriarchy where men are short-lived workhorses for lazy stay-at-home women. In a patriarchy like 17th century or first half of 18th century Russia, men constantly killed themselves over women and defending their quote-unquote honor. Since they're tradcon chauvinists, they're anti-egalitarian, they want women in kitchens so they can provide for them and bribe them back. They have no interest in pro-male issues like fathers having more time with their kids. Another important thing to understand is that feminism is actually not about equality, but giving more power to women at the expense of men. You can see that feminism is pushing for laws and policies like gender quotas and gender budgeting which are aimed at obtaining privilege for women in a non-democratic way. Gender quotas are just a form of biological discrimination against men and enforce the sexist idea that women must be employed due to their reproductive organs they're born with and not because of their knowledge and capabilities. In other words, you should hire that stupid cunt not because she has the brain, but because she has the cunt. And then these anti-egalitarians attack feminism by using their formal definition that implies equality for women. This only gives credibility to feminism as an egalitarian movement and that MRAs/MGTOW are chauvinists who want to take their rights and keep them in a kitchen. This also alienates left-leaning people who have interest in collective action and equality and apolitical people whose primary concern is to help another men. This is why right-wing is actually toxic for men, even more than left. And why pro-male rights groups need to call out right-wingers on this and prevent them from entering. These people only give ammo to the enemies. Is then surprising that the so-called manosphere has turned into manurosphere?
That is one big pile of shit.
Now, to understand the natural roots of what people describe as gynocentrism, we need to understand that humans are sexually dimorphic species where men are generally bigger and physically stronger while women bear children and act as incubators. Now, let's imagine this scenario. Man sees woman smaller than him, she's young. Subconsciously, this tell him that woman is fertile, and has smooth skin as baby. He sees her as fragile. When she frowns at him and sticks her tongue like a child, he follows her whim. Now, seeing that fragile creature, he instinctively wants to protect and provide for her. He's willing to sign the irrational contract that he will stay and take care of her until his death, but also a contract that she'll automatically benefit more than him if one of them decides to break that contract. If he's a good candidate for P, provide, protect and procreate, women see this through men's looks, height, big muscles, money and status as a sign of men being able to create stable environment for her and their offsprings. She'll accept to cohabitate and even sign that marital contract, especially considering the fact that she'll benefit in case the contract is terminated. Since women love men for their utility, men are naturally competitive against other men. They have that male ego and want to prove that they're the best P candidate. This means men have natural inclination to protect and pander to women and be more resentful and competitive towards other men. This negative aspect of male nature can be seen in right-wingers who want to live in a competitive world where unsuccessful men are punished and labeled as effeminate beta cucks and low-T soy boys. These tradcons want women in kitchens so they can pander to them and be that utility. This is also the reason why right-wing tradcons want the collapse and men dying to restore the patriarchal society in which they'll be nothing more than short-lived workhorses for lazy stay-at-home women who's willing to use them for their utility and where they kill other men to defend honor of some bitch. They want the world with less men and more pussy. This is how men's nature works against them and why they work less effective like a group and why are women more effective in groups. Men need to compartmentalize and understand male nature in order to work effectively together in a world where gynocentrism is reality. Women also have a preference for women and they work in their collective interest and act as hive mind, even if they dislike each other and know they're wrong. So, women prefer women and see men as means to an end, utility, while men also prefer women and have resentment for other men who they see as competition, and they also see women as more valuable due to the reproduction. That's gynocentrism in its natural form, also embodied in right-wing tradcons. Women play the game better, then men bitch about game being rigged and resort to inventing wonky conspiracy theories about godless communist Jews conspiring with sand niggers in some cultural, Marxist conspiracy to take their rights away. These men act as a safety net for spoiled princesses that they treat as children and enable their bad behavior and their bad choices. When their mate guarding backfires, they don't want to accept the truth that they were just utilities. If you're willing to be a workhorse provider that works 50+ hours, while your overgrown woman-child stays 24/7 with your smaller children and spends most of her time on her back watching TV, then don't expect from court to treat you like a parent instead of a workhorse provider. And don't expect to get your kids or, at least, equal time with them when you pedestalized motherhood over fatherhood and failed to be an actual father while you were married.
You're not even the full species. Women are. But you won't hear one word from the fake feminist about this because they tell women they love them because they want to control them and keep them on that reservation real close to them so they can destroy you. The truth is women, out of their mitochondrial DNA, they now have proven this, will release new genetics, which are actually old genetics, for key times and will decide the sex at the embryonic level and what to activate in the male that's going to be created that comes out of the woman, out of the earth, out of God's creation. How magic is that to defend women? Men are a weapon of women. Men are here to serve women. Men are here to die and build for women. Men are nothing but the entire defense mechanism of, not just in mammals, but in all major species. And there are some roles in some species where the women act as defenders as well. The point is, the idea that men and women are in competition is a sick joke. And the fact that men treat women bad and don't know how to get women's affection shows how stunted and destroyed they are. Oh woman, don't treat me so mean. You're the meanest old woman I've ever seen. I guess if you say so, I'll have to pack my things and go. Let's hit the road, Jack.
Right-wing men are weak bullies who know that system is wrong, but they got no nads to tackle it, so they invent wonky conspiracy theories to explain why it is futile to try that and dream about collapse as a solution to their problems to justify their laziness and passivity while they focus their anger on men they perceive weakened on repressing and shaming female nature. Since they're still not free from their ego, they attack masculinity of these men, calling them effeminate, and they attack their level of testosterone, projecting their own incapabilities on others, and they should be rejected on principle along with their cock-blocking, scapegoating, anti-male language and their obsessions over women, free love and sexual revolution.
But thanks to feminism and cultural Marxism, gender relations are in disarray and both sexes are in a constant state of confusion.
Yep, I'm now totally sure that Alice Cooper, that evil hippie, feminists and anti-feminist professors of Frankfurt School conspired to destroy Western culture. Pro-male communities should reject anti-male language and ideologues because this will only bring more division among men and attract more of these toxic people. Pro-male communities should place emphasis on men's issues like draft, forced male genital mutilation and female-on-male rape, raise awareness among other people and work more closely with people like activists that share similar goals and share tactics with them. Men are submissive even outside of the sexual realm, so if they want to stay passive, be anti-egalitarian in gynocentric society and attack any form of organized proactive pro-male effort as communism, then they will remain slaves who constantly bitch about their slavery that they enable. We should also boot out these women that come to pro-male channels to show quote-unquote sympathy to other men by saying that we're all on the same boat and that this is all just an agenda perpetuated by cultural Marxists, Jews and some evil sans niggers, and that they are a nice traditional stay-at-home housewives that are willing to give a nice BJ. Never mind that they lost their virginity a dozen times before, because their agenda is to scapegoat and divide other men and utilize their ideologies against them. These women are toxic and they attract male pussy worshippers. Men that blame beaters and claim that women are children don't realize that they have been taken for a ride and that they're just providing excuses for female behavior and remove their responsibilities. Do you think that women would let men to stay at home with kids while they go to work? Nope, women are not so generous. Yet, tradcons love feeding into female entitlement by equating women with children. Remember, women and children first. Since she's a child just with bigger titties, she gets to be with kids 24/7 while it's her husband's duty to pay credit card and other debts she made for her shoes, fake cup, purses and her part of the rent. You don't have a right to complain since you don't have uterus, no pussy, no safety net for bad choices. Real men have a job and they spend their entire life as wage cucks for their princesses till death do them apart. Tradcons allow these tradcunts into MRM because they have the same goal, submissive stay-at-home women. Tradcon men fight for these women and these women join MRM to receive validation for their stay-at-home parasitic lifestyle. Feminism was just a symptom of tradcons pandering to women and feeding their entitlement. Both feminism and tradcons pander to women, but only in different ways. Feminists say, we should give more privilege to women at the expense of men in order to compete with them. Affirmative action / gender studies / gender budgeting, that's best for women. Tradcons say, we should force men to provide for women and direct all resources directly for them while they stay at home because they're just big children with vaginas and tell those gullible men that they have authority, that's best for women. I think these quotes only show that tradcons and men that pander to women and feed their entitlement are more toxic for men. After all, tradcons legalized tender years doctrine before women even got the right to vote, and they're the ones trying to entrap men into gender roles at their own expense and make them slaves to women, despite women being liberated from their own gender roles. This is ironic, considering that these nutty right-wingers blame communism / Marxism and juice for brainwashing weak, childish and frail women to focus on work instead on them. Yet they expect men to act as wage slaves for privileged women, defining this as so-called alpha maleness and masculine trait. This is because they know that without provision, women have no interest in men. This is why they obsess with mate guarding and where their interests clash with feminists' interests.
I'm a very lucky girl.
You know, in my opinion, marriage is just a legal form of prostitution.
From this obsession to mate guard and their insecurity stems their disdain for women who are promiscuous, women that they call sluts and skanks, and men who fail in mate guarding, men that they call cucks. Right-wingers, tradcons and other men that obsess over women have no interests in men's issues. That's why they equate equal rights and treatment for men with Marxism and any pro-male collective effort with communism.
In recognizing a communist, physical appearance counts for nothing. If he openly declares himself to be a communist, we take his word for it. If a person consistently reads and advocates the views expressed in a communist publication, he may be a communist. If a person supports organizations which reflect communist teachings, or organizations labeled communist by the Department of Justice, she may be a communist. If a person defends the activities of communist nations while consistently attacking the domestic and foreign policy of the United States, she may be a communist. If a person does all these things over a period of time, he must be a communist. But there are other communists who don't show their real faces, who work more silently.
Maldits comunes!
If men could get more organized and supportive of each other, then we might wake other men from apathy and encourage them to materialize their efforts and knowledge into something useful. For too long men placed their ideology and identity politics above their self-interest. Women don't believe in those and have been toying with men by weaponizing their vaginas. Polish, Belgian and French women spread their legs for Nazis, Nazi women spread their legs for allies, or, in case of occupation, Nazi women would bring men from occupied countries to take care of their properties. Japanese and Vietnamese women spread their legs for Muricans. Bible describes how Jews slaughtered all men and how they spared all women, and Greek mythology tells us about Helen of Troy causing all the shitstorm and destruction of the city-state.
That feminism has brainwashed them.
Shut the fuck up!
This is also one of the main reasons why pay gap exists. Men aren't born with right reproductive organs to serve them as the safety net for their choices and a lottery ticket, which only means that men risk more with their choices. Women, on the other hand, can get rich and famous just by spreading their legs, or they can marry to someone who'll mate guard them. Alternative which is generally not available to men.
The very definition of the word booty is a prize that men win from conquering by accomplishing some feat. Booty is a prize. Listen. What is it? What accomplishment has this man done? What has he achieved to deserve a prize? What is it that he has done with his life to be able to deserve the utmost prize of them all?
Woman can afford to get some useless degree or take a spot on university instead of some poor fella and then decide to just marry a vassal who is willing to bring Her Majesty her fair share. Once it gets tough, she can take him to the cleaners, take kids, house, pets, cars and money instead of helping him by getting a job. For men, the only genetic lottery ticket available is to be born into a wealthy family, but good luck with that. If men and women are on the same boat, then that boat is Titanic, where women get to leave first, or it's a boat with us being whipped by them while we men are the slaves that paddle. I think it's time to stop enabling these women whose life centers around our utility and disposability, and stop buying into illusion of false male authority, and stop feeding into their female entitlements, and stop allowing their minions and ideologues to hijack pro-male groups and platforms. Can we finally wake up and start treating other men with respect and start giving a fuck about our own interest?
Sergeant, check the kitchen. You look in the back. I'll be upstairs. Hey!
What is this? Where do you think you're going?
We have no time for explanations. Already we are 15 minutes behind schedule.
I don't care who sent your why. You're not going to take another step until I see your warrant.
Warrant? We need no warrant. As a member of the Young Communist League, your daughter has volunteered for farm work. She's to be transported immediately. The truck is waiting outside. You say my daughter volunteered? That is correct. Here's the signature. Requesting transport to the People's Collective.
Signature on that piece of paper is false. And everything you've said is a lie because my daughter would never leave here of her own free will.
Sergeant!
You've got no right to be in this house. I'm going to give you just 10 seconds to get out of here.
Daddy? It's true, Daddy. I did volunteer for farm work.
Linda, why?
The party convinced me that I should free myself of the lingering bourgeois influence of family life. I am ready. Do not interfere. It is for my own good.
And Comrade Donovan, do not think that your deviationist remarks shall be overlooked. It will be reported to the proper authorities.